What's your best the tables have turned moment? When my uncle passed, he left me his small 4-unit apartment building. It was a kind gesture, but it came with a problem named Kevin. Kevin was a professional tenant from hell. He hadn't paid a full month's rent in over 3 years, living in a fortress of legal loopholes and complaints. His sink would have a catastrophic leak the day before rent was due, a leak that would mysteriously vanish the moment I called a plumber. He knew the eviction laws in our city better than most lawyers, and dragging him to court would cost me thousands with no guarantee of success. The building was bleeding money because of him. I was on the verge of having to sell the one thing my uncle had worked his whole life for. One night, fueled by cheap coffee and desperation, I dug out the original lease agreement he had signed back in 1998. It was a 50-page monster, a relic from a time when landlords could write whatever they wanted into a contract. My lawyer looked it over and grinned. It was ancient, bizarre, but 100% legally binding. I had my weapon. I typed up a formal notarized letter and delivered it to Kevin myself. It gave him two options: pay the $24,000 in back rent and fees within 10 days, or begin to meticulously adhere to every single clause of the original 1998 lease agreement, effective immediately. He actually laughed in my face. He chose option 2. He thought he was calling my bluff. He had no idea what was in that lease. The first notice was posted on his door the next morning. Per clause 27B, all window exteriors must be cleaned on the first and third Sunday of each month to maintain building aesthetics. His apartment was on the 3rd floor. He had to hire a professional. The following week, he received another notice. Per clause 41C, all household refuse must be sorted into 7 distinct categories and placed in the designated color-coded receptacles no earlier than 6:00 a.m. and no later than 6:15 a.m. on Wednesdays. I had bought the ridiculous, brightly colored bins that morning. Then came the notices about the mandatory quarterly testing of all smoke detectors, which required my presence, the rule against hanging any item heavier than 5 pounds on the walls, and my personal favorite, a clause forbidding the use of any pungent culinary spices that may permeate the building's ventilation system. The final straw was the clause about maintaining the original aesthetic of the flooring. I sent him a polite notice that the 1990s linoleum in his kitchen was looking dull and required a hand polishing by the end of the week. The next morning, I received a frantic, typo-filled email saying he was breaking his lease and would be out by the 1st of the month. He left the keys on the counter with a note that just said, "You win," and I just tossed them in the trash.